The prince said that he had allies, like a lot of them, but he never said who they were because he didn't want to know. Yeah, the thing I just said. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of Yatagarasu. I have to mention, right off the top of the sorry, the metaphor just escaped me the moment I started talking. It has been a couple of weeks since the last time I recorded an episode of this, as I've been trying to do a new recording schedule to give more focus to one show at a time, to lead up to completing a show. That way I can then catch up with the other shows and do them the same way. So I'm not quite back to fully jumping into Yatagarasu, but I am very close, like a week away, and then most of my time will be dedicated to this show specifically. I'm saying that because I am a bit separated from all of my notes, and what I did was I went back and I rewatched the last two episodes, so some of my notes may just be incorporating rehashing elements of what I needed to remember leading into this episode. So, yeah, I just want to say that ahead of time in case you're like, yeah, but you already knew that. Well, that's the reason why I might say some fairly obvious shit. So, I apologize. That said, though, as always, come back with notes and a board. So let's go ahead and hop on into the board real quick, where we have the normal board and the location chart. I should say I don't even need to bring up the location chart because I don't think anyone's moved. Essentially, the prince went somewhere, but they're running back to Central now, so it doesn't really matter. Most everyone else that moved to death, so, I mean, didn't really change. Other than that, I added Mutsu no Hana and connected her to Shiratama with a blue line. I connected Toro to the Empress with a blue line. I named the prince's mother and connected her to Masho no Suzuki with the blue line. And then I realized I was doing a lot of, hey, these characters are just related to one another. So let me move over here on the board. I decided it was time for an Apothecary Diaries style who's related to who thing. The family relations board, I believe is what I called it on Apothecary Diaries, due to how many times I've heard people say that they are related to one another. I just had to find out how many people are related to the same prince they are trying to get with, whether or not that be the actual prince or Natsuka. So, yeah. If you look at it here, you have the ones that are actually sort of connected, like technically not, was just in love with, may find out it eventually is, I don't know. And then, these guys aren't technically tied in the same way they are, but they do have this whole thing going on, so I figured. And you never know. Again, the element that we keep finding out, like, the prince and the princess's mother is actually her aunt, so technically that makes her a cousin, and technically she's a step-cousin, and we can now track that because of this board. It's easier to do than trying to remember, because this turns into one of those, there's famously that song that I think I know mostly from The Man Who Knew Too Little, which is a comedy movie about being his own grandpa or something like that. I don't have the mnemonic device for that shit, so here we go. And that will be obviously linked down below along with the rest of the board stuff in case you want to see it and maybe correct me. Just as a notation, if there's the dotted lines, that means they got adopted, because that appears, Hamiya and Shiratama. And then I just kind of broke the line between Shiratama and her mother, given the fact that she kind of just gave her up, it seems like. So yeah, that's essentially, this is what I spent most of my time with the board stuff. Otherwise, I said, I got notes. Just to recap some stuff, Asebi sends Samomo out to do a thing. She comes back looking scared, then is killed in the middle of the night. The Yamauchi Guard investigates on behalf of the prince, but the Wisteria Guard is also going to investigate and requests the consorts not to talk to the Yamauchi Guard, even in writing. I don't have any direct suspicions of Takamoto, other than the fact that she works for Yuzemi, who does have plans that seem more in line with getting Natsuka on the throne rather than the prince, but it would be super unclear as to why she would have anything to do with Samomo's death, and thus feels unconnected to any possible cover-up Takamoto might be attempting. At the same time, we discover that the only rogue agent in the Wisteria Palace, beyond any possible Natsuka loyalists we aren't directly aware of, was Kazumi, who was working for the prince, but also a spy for the North and trying to get closer to Shiratama. So, no real motivation for it to have been him either. I hate to say it, but with as wide a scope of vision as I can muster, I think I agree with Shiratama's goading taunt that the person most likely to be responsible would be Asebi. We don't know what she sent Samomo to do, or why Samomo looked scared when she came back. If some nefarious plan is afoot, killing Samomo might be a means to keeping it hidden, or even instigate something to happen. Takamoto does later claim, after having killed Kazumi, that he likely worked for a robber band and was stealing stuff to sell on the market, as stuff from the Cherry Blossom Palace had been found there. She then works to tie Samomo to him, which makes her stance seem like the deception, and all that much more curious as she leapt to decapitate Kasumi on the spot. While Yukiya wasn't, if you remember back when Yukiya got captured, he wasn't decapitated on the spot. So, I don't know. That just stuck in my craw for some reason. Why did she so immediately leap to decapitate him when Yukiya kind of got some time? So did Genya and Oreo adopt Shiratama specifically for this? Or was Mutsu no Hana the wife of Genya's son? I would only assume she wouldn't be his daughter because of Cha no Hana. She's old enough to be Genya's age, and because of naming, I would think she might be Mutsu no Hana's mother. I think I might have that represented on the board. No, actually, I didn't include any I didn't collect any tie between them. So, still a question in my mind, and I've left it open on the board. So Toro is the Empress's brother, making Natsuka his nephew. Following that, trying to get Natsuka to marry his daughter would be marrying first cousins, which is a massive no-no. And again, another reason why I did the whole board. So now you can see the massive no-nos across the board. We referenced the upheaval 10 years ago, which I have to think might be the same instance that we saw Yukiya getting saved by the prince at the start of the first episode, but it's also when Shiratama was given to Genya. Apparently, now it's also when Hamiyo's parents were killed for committing a grave crime, which we know was the murder of the other woman. It's on the board. So I didn't write it down in my notes because I put it all into the board. One of them became the Lord of the South, got married, and had Hamiyo. Then, at some point after the Emperor is with Izayoi? Sorry, I never said the name out loud before. After the Emperor is with Izayoi, Akira's sister, and has the Prince and Princess, Hamiyo's parents kill her, opening the way up for their sister Yazumi to be with the Emperor, or whatever is going on there. Despite that, their other sibling, Toru, has them executed and takes the Lord of the South title for himself, and as we find out, 2 years after that, adopts Hamiyo, who he then sends into the palace to try and win over her step-cousin? I don't know. If it is turning out it turns out that she's sent to assassinate him, I don't know if that's much better. Either way, it's cousins on cousins. As a reminder, Masho no Suzuki is a direct cousin, So that's half of the prince's selection being a cousin of some sort. Hamiyo is a step cousin. Masho no Suzuki is a first cousin. Asebi does not appear to be related in any aspect, but I also think Asebi is going to be. Well, I have a future note about that. Which means that Shiratama, the girl who does not love the prince and just had her actual love interest decapitated in front of her, kind of the best option. The prince visits 2 gravestones in the woods and rejuvenates a flowering branch to put on the grave, the same grave that we see in Hamiyo's flashback, so the grave of his step-aunt and uncle, barring any other unknown family connections to be revealed in the future. As intricate as the Southern House's plan is, I suppose it all falls apart when their 2 key pieces just blab it out to anyone that can hear it. Nechiko, the one set up for sorry. I kind of like deadpans in my head because I'm like, where did I get the name Nechiko from? Because I don't have it anywhere else in my notes. I put it on the board, and that was it. But it's the woman that the prince goes to meet, pretending to be a servant of the prince. She is the one who's being set up for Natsuka to marry once the prince is out of the way, I think, and is actively telling the prince. And Hamiyo just spills the beans in front of the other girls. Beyond the fact that a Lord of the South and the Empress are still in the game and operating pieces, to do what they will, this would be the death knell on the whole plan for the South, I think. And my last note here, who sent the warning letter? No clue. I imagine that Hamiyo was sent to kill the prince, but she wasn't the only one, so doubling down and saying Asebi is the other assassin. And whose comb was that? Asebi's, I'd imagine. I think it had like a spring motif on it, and it's basically from the country, the region she represents. So I know I have basically since episode 2 been pointing the finger at Asebi. She's too innocent. I think she's probably a really good actor. There is just something. Anyway, that was my notes. It's the board, so nothing really left to do but hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
What, like for the second time? I mean, I already said my piece. I doubt it. It's nice, but I don't believe she'd be altruistic for any reason. She's been nice sometimes, but she's a backbiter herself. Unless this is an element of evolution, are the girls evolving into better people? I mean, the retainer was her best friend. Or second best friend, because I don't know if she counts Asebi as a best friend. Ah, shoot. Sorry, there was a person in the background, and the best time to have noticed it was when the camera was like right up in the princess's face. And unfortunately, I didn't notice them until the pan back, in which case the camera's moving, so they're kind of harder to see as the camera's moving. I kind of maybe assume that could have been the prince, We know the prince was heading back. At the same time, could have been Takamoto standing guard over the princess. Nah, I just really don't know. Also, I think next time I'm going to have to go back over the opening to see if there's any clues in the opening. Because I think there's stuff to read into here. Like the element that the beginning bits showed us pieces. Like the knife that we know Shiratama was holding. Actually, it was the knife and the paper that she cut into the fold into cranes. And the comb, which isn't the same as the comb that was shown that Momo had, because I think that comb had stuff on it. Hell, if you want to get real artsy-fartsy, there might be a thing to read into which of the palace parts the shadow falls over. Oh, and there was also that horse that was, like, collapsed next to the water. And that might be an element... Oh, Natsuko. Where the place where Natsuko went. It might be an element that the water's poison. I think I brought that up early on. Again, I don't think this guy's long for the world. Natsuko doesn't really care what people do. Rokan has an ear for picking up when people are trying to betray him and killing them. And the lord that guy directly serves slapped him last episode. Dude, you're walking home in the rain. You are fucking dead. That's Rokan right there. The only hope you have now is he gets hit by lightning. I mean, I respect he's standing up for the guy. He's standing up to the guy, too. They'll say no chance in hell, but... What did I say? You better hope the guy gets hit by lightning. I mean, almost. Huh, so either's gonna die in the woods. Oh, is he the horse that we saw next to the water? There we go, that's what he was. That water's never gonna get poisoned. I guess we better hope that there's not a Natsuka loyal retainer on Rokan's side here that'll kill him off. I don't know, I take the other one. Yukiya is good with a sword. The other one's proven. Oh, never mind. They both went. You'd figure the element of being able to shapeshift would allow you to close the wound. There was seashells there. How do the seashells work?
殿下、ひどい怪我を負ったようだな。私もここまでのようです。夏香様は今や私に耳を貸してくださいませ。いえ、疎んじておられる。
He doesn't take direct action. You should have fucking learned this by
ど
now.
うぞお願いが。申してみよ。私の亡き後も夏香様をお守りくださいますか。もし聞いていただけますならお教えいたします。あなた様に真に
I mean, if it's Rokon, we all fucking know that already. Did you say the Empress?
真の敵？証拠もございます。殿下なら一網打尽にすることもできましょう。案ずるな。言われずとも。
I'd be worried that the person who's about to die is trying to just take revenge.
殿下にあだなす敵の名は。
Well, wasn't this a bit on the nose? Oh, okay, poison in the room. Same thing that killed your mother, huh? Holy shit. I did not expect that. I legit thought he was okay. This dude's the little finger of the show.
待て、お前たち、子供はどうした？子供？拳銃がいたはずだ。あの子供はどこだ？
Yeah, the guy in the hallway. I don't know, you probably should still stab him. Ultimately, you'd still get blamed, but you take care of that end at the very least. Because we know now that you're doing this, Yukiya's not gonna fucking die. He's essentially the main character. I don't know where you could run to. Maybe the Wisteria Guard? They're in the area? I don't know, you guys are poisoners. Oh, okay, I didn't recognize what that was to begin with. That's right, we went here before. So you're gonna go what, to the mountain? Again, you should just prick them with the poison. Better to get it over with and handled. Yeah, and I forgot this was the exit point. That's why I was thrown for a minute. Sworn, who can you trust here? The prince said that he had allies, like a lot of them, but he never said who they were because he didn't want to know. Yeah, the thing I just said. But you didn't want to know. Is this a riddle we're gonna solve on the fly, or gonna find somebody else? So I'm like just fucking down here. Because I would say, maybe hope that your uncle is still in town and not back up north.
何を信用していいのか絶対絶命だ考えろあらゆる記憶を手繰り寄せ知恵を絞って考えるのだ
Oh, I was about to say Rokon. I was gonna say the best way to counter Atsufusa would be to pull in Rokon to try and finish the job on him, I would think. Because Rokon might stand opposed to someone else taking action. Then again, I wouldn't know where you would try and find him. Is he near the gambling dens?
逃がしただと
申し訳ありませんこの嵐で応援が呼べずなんとか明日には
今日を逃せばもう機会はないのだ
I mean, he could still kill the prince.
まあよい子供は見つかり次第ナマスにしてやるやれなんともう動けるのか
You did fucking wait forever. This is on you, man.
ちょうど良いところに来たとどめをさせもはや無傷でとは言わん私をたばかったなアツフさあなたが悪いのですよ天下綺麗な体であの世にお送りして差し上げる
I mean, to be fair, I was thrown by Tsufasa. I didn't think he had anything in him. I was shocked he didn't immediately die to Rukon.
なぜこのような真似をする誠の金を殺めることが山内のためになると本当に思っているのか
Setting the place afire. Oil, yeah. I'm glad we're just seeing some conviction out of the prince. Is Sumi gonna wake up? Of course. Oh no, I was wrong. I thought it was Sumio waking up. I don't know who these people are if they're not the mountain people. Or the gambling hall people.
ああ心配かけて申し訳なかった兄上よかった
His only ally was Natsuka?
やはり山内衆を抱き込んで若宮殿下の暗殺を企んでいたようですそなたの内定通りか厚さ本人はだんまりですが雑魚はよくしゃべるもともとは殿下が花町を訪れた時を狙って火事の煙に巻かれて死んだように
I guess I was part right when I said Rokon.
なるほどそれなら遺体の判別もたやすいしうつけの自業自得で済む
I mean, there's also a point for what's her name not trusting the Yamauchi guard.
あのなお前の爪が甘かったおかげでこっちは死ぬとこだったんだぞ
確かに厚さを追い詰め殿下を危険にさらしたのは私だ お詫び申し上げる。
いや、あの時そなたが助けに来てくれなければ、今頃私の命はなかった。
Now, this is a fucking change of pace. This show.
礼なら近習に言うんですな。あの顔で名教員に駆け込んできた時には。
若宮を助けてください。
悪いのは私だ。アズフサのことは以前からロコンに忠告されていたのに。
Oh yeah, because it doesn't feel like you're.
私を信用していただけなかったということですな。
It didn't feel like your people know that this is what's going on.
そろそろ種明かしをしてもらえませんか。
True enemy's gonna be the Empress, right?
応援してくれているのは兄上なのだ。私が非力な頃は敵の手が及ばぬようにと山内の外に遊学させ、
Which is also why everyone thinks you're stupid.
と称し、私の敵対勢力を束ね、監視と粛清を行ってくれていた。私はずっと兄上に守られていた。
夏香様ご自身は金運になろうと思ったことは一度もなかったのですか。
私は宗家だぞ。そもそも宗家は金運を守るためにあるのだ。だが今や威信は地に落ちた。出身家ばかり優遇する皇后と、
Yeah, like I said.
皇后にも祭りごとにも興味がない金城陛下。このままでは四家の均衡は崩れ、いずれ戦になるだろう。この時代、弟が誠の金羽として生まれたのは偶然ではない。何か意味があるのだ。
Well, there you go. Fucking amazing.
よくわかったな。
え？
若宮殿下と夏香様が裏でつながっていることだよ。
それは俺も興味がある。隠していたのに。
To be fair.
あんな状況でなければ僕も気づかなかったと思うんですけど。
そうか。
To be fair,
確か
I would have run to the same person as I just said without realizing all this.
え？ホッケの宴にもいなかったのに、なんでそんなこと知ってんですか。
それがなぜ引っかかるのだ。ホッケの宴には私とキエイ殿も同席していた。名月彦にその話が伝わっていても別に不思議ではないと思うが。
北領は武人の国ですよ。慶宗院で武道を学ぶのは子供たちの憧れなんです。なのに郷長の息子が嫌がって逃げ回るなんてとんだ恥さらしですよ。その恥をキエイ様が人に話すとは思えません。それにたった今夏香様が疑問を口にされたように、ホッケ以外のものからするとどうでもいい話。
I guess it also implies that you don't know everything about all aspects of the country.
どんな関係だ。朝廷ではバチバチ火花飛ばしてるけど、実は兄弟仲は悪くないんじゃないかって。
なるほど。
どっちみちあの時は一か八かの賭けに出るしかありませんでしたから。
あっぱれだ、ユキヤ。お前のような知恵も度胸も兼ね備えた子供は見たことがない。これからも末永く弟。
I just appreciate that I would have come up with the right answer by accident.
僕は1年経ったらたる日に。
別に1年にこだわらなくてもいいだろう。俺だってお前がこいつのそばにいてくれたら100人力だ。
これからも中央にいればよい。弟が金羽になった暁にはその側近として。
You're never going home.
何言ってんですか。朝廷に上がったって僕なんて雑用がせいぜいですよ。側近なんてとんでもない。
なぜそのように思うのだ。
なぜって、僕は地方貴族の次男坊に過ぎないし。
心配するな。皆わ
The
かる。
whole Hill Raven thing.
お前の母親は玄也殿の二の姫。つまりお前はホッケ当主の孫だ。文句のつけようもない一流の血筋じゃないか。
Did I know that?
なんで厄介者。やめろ。バカ、また母上を困らせる気か。だって兄上、こいつらがみんな言ってるぞ。次男坊は面倒ばっかり持ってくる。
No. Sorry, I didn't know that. The highborn lady is all I have.
ユキヤ。
So, does that make him a lineal grandson? Is he then technically, like, a cousin of Kie? Instead of Kie being an uncle?
そうですよね。欲しかったのは僕じゃない。ホッケの血だ。
What a good fucking show. I keep saying the Game of Thrones of anime. Someone's gonna say Legend of Galactic Heroes is. I think this is more in the spirit of Game of Thrones. Damn. You know, on one hand, it's like 4 a.m., and I'm like, I've got to finish what I'm doing today. On the other hand, I wish this episode would never end. That was a fucking amazing reveal. That was twists and turns all over the goddamn place. Again, the element that Atsufusa pulled the wool over our eyes. And, I legit, well, here's the thing. Here's the weird thing. I was right the whole episode, while being wrong the whole episode. I did not clock that Atsufusa was, actually against us the entire time. I thought he was actually going to throw everybody else under the bus, because he was dying. And I'm going to tell you who your true enemy is. Like, the Empress, obviously. Well, and then he pulls his trick. But the Empress really is the true enemy, so I was right. And then it's like, who are our allies? Well, I can only think of one person. And that's only because even if Natsuka was the prince's enemy, it would be pitting your enemies against your enemies. So it's like, well, go to Rukon. And it turns out going to Rukon was the right answer.
その身に流れるホッケの力は逃れられない。怒り悲しむユキヤをロコンがある男のもとに案内する。忠誠とは誰のための言い訳か。次回、忠心。
I don't know who we were looking at there. It was either one of his brothers, his older brother, which we haven't seen in a while. And I guess that's my only guess. I don't know anyone that looks like that. It's either that's going to be Kie. We haven't seen Kie in a while. I mean, it's either that or it's a new character. I can't, guess if it's a new character. Yeah, man, that was a good fucking episode. I keep guessing that the water of the mountain is going to be poisoned. As per the test, pour the water into the pots. These pots die, those pots don't. I may have missed completely when he actually explained the point in doing that. But I still think those plants were dying for a reason. So then we see the well, he's not the horse, it's Atsufusa, but we see him by the side of the river, and I was like, oh, maybe it's the water. Maybe we're finally paying that off. I don't think at this point there's anything to pay off. I think that's done. That is a dead story. Watch, I say that 2 episodes from now, it's going to be a whole thing. Yeah. So, the Empress is the true enemy. Takemoto may be up to something on her behalf, but even then, what I said before I think still stands. That even if the Empress is up to something, then nothing that has to do with Sumomo or whatever, that it doesn't follow through. Now, we have the princess who's just, locked herself away, and there's somebody watching her from the back. Maybe it is connected somewhere in that. If they're playing off the people who are threats aren't visibly a threat, maybe my detector is just way off. Maybe I keep pointing at Asebi, and Asebi is going to be the exception to the rule and not the rule. The way that Atsufusa was not, setting me off. that maybe the princess is going to be the threat instead of asebi, right? That these two innocent people came together, and asebi was actually innocent and the princess wasn't. Although I have no idea why. I don't know why the princess would be after this, but at the same time, in the flashback, it's Natsuka and the prince together, even though the princess and the prince have the same mother. Why weren't they together in that? Maybe that's a clue. The problem herein is that I get so conspiratorial suspicious that everything turns into a clue, and then when everything's a clue, nothing is a clue. So that makes it more difficult to wean down. This is why I keep saying that I would be a horrible detective. I'd be a horrible detective because either I would see nothing, or I would not write off anything, right? If you're like, what was your motivation? I can fucking make up a motivation for anybody. Nothing would be off the table. I would never know where to draw the line of, maybe they dissolved the gun in acid. I don't know. Anyway, this is going to take a whole other set of watch through and notes because I've already got my hands full with the family relation chart, which, by the way, now it's got a whole new thing. Now we got to make sure Yukiya falls in line with the Genya family line. But now I have to backtrace to the Natsuka is actually the good guy herding all the bad guys together, and then which one of those people are actually responsible for doing shit. And clearly the Empress doesn't know that Natsuka is betraying her in her attempt to get him on the throne. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this, because I'm just going to be rambling about the same couple of things that happened to this episode and how they boggle my mind. So, for now, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?